Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to a special 4th of July edition of NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel, complete with appearance by the cat in the background. Got a lot of questions here regarding WWE and TNA, so let's get right down to it. First one today comes from Kenny Mark 89. Hey Aaron, just wondering your thoughts on Vince McMahon reportedly saying he doesn't see money in Daniel Bryan. Also on Raw, Vince did have a segment where he mentioned Bryan not being a WWE kind of guy and seemed to hint, in my opinion, he wasn't a big fan. Thanks. Well, everything that Daniel Bryan has said on television about his rise to the top is true. Daniel Bryan is not a guy who was supposed to make it big in WWE. Vince McMahon, for decades now, has always seen a superstar that is going to be pushed to the top as somebody who is larger than life and somebody who looks like Superman. That's why John Cena is pushed to the top. That's why Hulk Hogan was pushed to the top, Ultimate Warrior, and the list goes on. These are guys that they look like they're built like Greek gods, and those are the kind of guys that Vince likes to push. He doesn't like to push people that look like your average Joe. And the thing about Daniel Bryan is that, you know, he's short, he doesn't have that physique, and you know, Vince's attitude is that a guy like Daniel Bryan does not stand out in a crowd, and because of that, Vince, quote, doesn't see money in him. Now, of course, I think that Vince is, he does have a point in terms of you want to push people that are larger than life, and you know, it's easier to market guys like that. But on the other hand, I mean, you have to go with how the crowd is reacting. Daniel Bryan is the most over person in WWE right now. I would say even more than CM Punk. And the merchandise is selling like crazy. The crowd, you have pretty much everybody in the audience behind Daniel Bryan, and that's hard to get. It's hard to get just about every single person in the building 100% behind somebody. I mean, for most wrestlers, you're going to have fans that don't like the guy. But with Daniel Bryan, I mean, everybody loves him. Everybody respects his in-ring ability. And, you know, he's a great talker. And, you know, he's just not the big, bulky bodybuilder type that Vince has been used to pushing over the years. So, you know, you know, Vince has had success with guys like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, smaller guys. So, you know, hopefully he'll realize that WWE has something special with Daniel Bryan. And, you know, I really feel that they need to move away from mocking him on television. You know, the whole goat face thing, and you know, Daniel Bryan making fun of himself on television. I mean, that stuff needs to end. I mean, if you're going to push him to the top, you know, you need to take him more seriously. And I mean, they've definitely gotten better about it, because I remember when, you know, they were doing the whole vegan thing, and Michael Cole calling him a nerd. I mean, that was really bad. So at least they've gone away from that. But yeah, they really need to go all the way with Daniel Bryan, as I've said repeatedly in videos. And you know, Vince needs to go out of his comfort zone when it comes to trying to find the next big superstar, because it doesn't have to be a 6'3", 6'4", 280-pound jacked up bodybuilder type. All right, this one comes from Amy Likes Candy. Is Ryback going to have a crying gimmick? And do you think he will ever be a main eventer or get another big push again? You know, this goes back to the previous question. You know, Ryback is the type of guy. He's the prototype for the type of guy that Vince really likes. You know, he's this huge, jacked up monster, somebody who is larger than life, who stands out from the rest of the pack. And you know, Ryback has that look, but in the ring, he has only been able to accomplish so much. And I mean, his matches with John Cena were good, but I sense that WWE is moving on, and they're looking to push other guys. I mean, when it comes right down to it, you really got to be able to deliver in the ring and be a strong talker. I mean, you have to have one or the other, at least one of those attributes. And with Ryback, he has the look, but he doesn't really have a lot to bring to the table in terms of in the ring or on the mic. So, I mean, that's going to be a problem for him being pushed, because, you know, WWE put everything they had in him. But now, without that push, you know, he really doesn't have anything going for him. So, it's definitely going to be tough for him. But he'll always have that chance to be pushed again, with his look. But that's no guarantee. All right, this one comes from Dante Hamid. Hey Aaron, please answer in video. Do you think WWE will do a quote old school SmackDown like they did with Raw? I could definitely see WWE doing an old school SmackDown at some point. The thing is, Raw's been around a lot longer than SmackDown, and Raw had a lot of the old time legends, superstars, and SmackDown. A lot of the guys that were on the first SmackDown are still around today. So I don't know if they're going to do it in the near future, but maybe 5 years from now, absolutely, I could see them doing an old school SmackDown. It would be cool to have the old fist set from SmackDown, or even the first one, the Ovaltron. I mean, that would be cool to see, have the old school set, and maybe bring back some of the early 2000s stars like Too Cool. That would be something cool to watch. All right, this one comes from Daniel N. 1995. Hi, Aaron. What do you think about the Shield being in the Money in the Bank kickoff or pre-show? I don't even know what they're calling it now. I guess they're calling it the kickoff. The fact is, the tag team match, the Shield versus the Usos, it's not going to sell one single pay-per-view buy. So because of that, I mean, it doesn't really matter if it's on the pay-per-view or if it's on the pre-show. Now, the one issue I have with it is it's a tag team titles match, and I feel every title match should be on pay-per-view. I don't think you should have the title match on the pre-show. I think that devalues the title and makes it less important. So that's the one problem I have with doing it on the kickoff. But it is what it is. I mean, the Usos. I don't see them winning the tag team titles, and I think this all but confirms it. All right, this one comes from ClarkyBoy123. Do you think Alberto Del Rio will bring back cars during his entrance as a distraction for Ricardo not being there? And several people have asked me about Ricardo being suspended, and will this hurt Alberto Del Rio? And can he get over on his own without Ricardo? I mean, that's definitely something that a lot of people have debated and talked about. I definitely feel that Ricardo is a big part of Del Rio's act. The whole ring entrance and interfering in the matches, and the two of them have been like a pair, like almost like a tag team, even though they don't compete in tag team matches. But they are like a duo, and Del Rio on his own, it just doesn't seem to work for me all that much. So I think it will hurt him a bit without having Ricardo around, and hopefully Ricardo is back when the suspension is over, and he doesn't get into any more trouble, because if he ends up being released or he leaves, I definitely think that would hurt Del Rio and hurt his whole act. So I don't know if bringing back cars is the answer. I really don't think that would make all that much of a difference. It's just the fact that Ricardo, has a lot of personality and just adds a lot to the Del Rio character and the whole act in general. All right, this one comes to WWE. This one comes from WWE Fan 5. Hey Aaron, what do you think was the best WrestleMania ever? I would have to say 19, because I think if you showed this pay-per-view to anyone who's not a WWE fan, they would immediately become a fan. I absolutely agree with you. I think that WrestleMania 19, in terms of the in-ring product, was the best WrestleMania of all time, and it really had something for everybody. You wanted a match with the big Attitude Era stars. You had Stone Cold versus The Rock. You wanted a match with the big superstars of the 80s and 90s. You had Vince McMahon versus Hulk Hogan, the two big personalities in WWE history. And if you wanted a tremendous technical match with two of the current big stars, you had Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle. And then if you wanted more of the high-flying action, fast-paced match, you had Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho. And you had a lot of other talented guys like the world's greatest tag team. So I mean, the roster was really strong during that period as well. Chris Benoit and so on, and Eddie Guerrero. WWE in terms of the in-ring product, I mean that was one of their best periods. So WrestleMania 19 had a really solid card top to bottom, and I never understood to this day. I still don't know why that pay-per-view buy rate was so low compared to other WrestleManias during that time, because that really was a show that had something for everybody. All right, last one today comes from Lauderdale19144. Hey Aaron, TNA just released Silva, Shaw. Well, actually, they didn't release Shaw. That was a mistake. Joey Ryan, Crimson, Hendricks, and York from TNA, all the gut check winners. For me, I see it as a storyline, and I see them bringing back some of the losers too. What do you think is going on? Well, from what I've heard, it's not part of a storyline. TNA's actually letting go some talent as a cost-cutting measure. But the thing is, I don't know how much those guys were making, but I can't imagine it was that much. So that right there seems a little weird. That if you're gonna try to cut costs when you try to release some of the bigger names that aren't really making you much money, Hulk Hogan. So it is what it is. It just confirms the fact that the gut check has been a flop, and people asked me about the gut check before, my thoughts on it, and I felt it wasn't working, and this right here just goes to show that TNA feels it didn't work, and that and the open fight night, it was worth trying new things and doing something different for television, but it just didn't work out, and it was really hard for me to take the gut check seriously when they turned down guys like Adam Pearce, who I felt definitely should have gotten a shot with TNA, and there was some speculation that he was going to be part of a storyline, because why would they get rid of him and not give him an opportunity? So whatever. I'm over it. But yeah, it is really important for TNA to try to develop new stars, and this isn't going to help when you let go of the guys that have some potential, and hopefully in the future they'll be able to continue to develop new talent and make new stars. That's really what they need to do, and I don't know if it's ever going to happen or not. All right, that'll do it for this edition of No DQ&A Video. Thanks as always for watching. Subscribe, youtube.com/NoDQCAW. If you're watching this July 4th, have a great 4th of July holiday if you celebrate it. If you live in the United States, be safe, don't drink and drive, yada, yada, yada. And I'll see you next time for more.